Elsewhere, the Foreign Ministry of Yemen's National Salvation Government has condemned the British government over its hostilities against the Yemeni people. The ministry has accused Britain of obstructing peace efforts in Yemen following comments by the British envoy at the UN this week. Let's switch over to the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, joined there by Yusuf Mauri, our correspondent. Yusuf, tell us more about the British envoy's comments and the reaction by Yemen.
Well, he's basically supporting an economic move, a tactic that's designed to make the rich richer and the poor even poorer. Of course, I'm referring to the officials, the government officials loyal to the Saudi-backed government, the ones who are part of the Yemeni government that's recognized by the international community. And this is an economic move, as I mentioned, this is where government officials, they store a lot of US dollars. They take it out of the economic flow in Yemen and they store a massive amount of US dollars. And they do this so that the US dollar exchange rate can increase. And then once the exchange rate increases by 50%, as is the case in this situation, they cash in and they make millions and millions of dollars of profit. And this, unfortunately, is coming at the cost of the innocent civilians living in the areas under the control of the Yemeni government backed by Saudi Arabia. What this move is, the U.S. and the British government are basically supporting a move that's going to increase prices across the board in the areas controlled by the Saudi-backed government. And some protests have taken place in the province of Madib, in the province of in Aden, from Southerners who are rejecting this 50% exchange rate that's going to increase the prices of basic necessities. It's going to make, instead of the dollar being worth 1,200 Yemeni riyals, it's going to increase it to perhaps 1,700 Yemeni riyals, a price, an increase which the majority of Yemenis simply cannot afford. And it's unfortunate that this is happening in the midst of a strangling blockade and a war that's being waged on the Yemeni people, not just people in the north, but also people in the south. The war that Saudi Arabia is launching, it's not just directed at the Yemeni people who are in the control of the Sana'a-backed government. As we see with this initiative and as we see with this, with these new economic developments, it's also affecting and impacting the lives of the people living in the areas under the Saudi-backed government's control. And so this is what the Ansarullah government is referring to when they say that the British government's role in Yemen has always been geared at causing chaos and instability. When we look at what the British government's role has been in Yemen over the past 7 years, they've imposed a strangling blockade on Yemen. They supported this initiative. They've sold millions and millions of dollars worth of weapons to the Saudi coalition, weapons which are used to kill innocent Yemenis, weapons that are being investigated as we speak for containing illegal, prohibited substances which are causing an increase to birth defects and causing an increase in the rate of cancer in the areas that have been hit by these British and US sold weapons.
Right, so this is the same British regime that all human rights groups agree and have stated is directly complicit in the war on Yemen and the suffering of the Yemeni people, and should be tried along with the United States and Saudi Arabia for war crimes. But Yusuf, did I hear you correctly saying that the people in the south, in Aden, are also in protest against this position by the UK, in which case you have a united stance with the Southern Transitional Council, the Southern separatists backed by the UAE, and the Ansarullah movement?
Yes. And here's the situation in the south. It differs from the north in one instance. The people in the north, the people in the areas under the control of the Ansarullah government, they have weapons. Every household has at least 4 to 5 weapons, right? So when there's a corrupt government in this area, in the north, the people have the ability, they have the military power to overthrow that government. And this is exactly what happened in 2015. When Saudi Arabia, the US, and British, they imposed on the Yemeni people a government that takes its orders from the West. The people in the north, along with the Ansarullah movement, they rose up to topple the Saudi-backed government from power. Unfortunately, that's not the case in the south of the country. The reason why you have UAE forces, the reason why you have Saudi forces on the ground, the reason why the south of Yemen is occupied by these external powers is because the southern people don't have enough military might to overthrow that government from power. And this is the struggle, and this is the reason why the Yemeni-backed Saudi government is still in power in that region. It's simply because the people just don't have enough a military backbone to topple that government from power. But I can tell you that, yes, there is corruption in the south. The majority of the southern people, they're against this, the occupation of the south. They're against the occupation of Yemeni islands, and they're against the military reinforcements that's currently undergoing by the Saudi-backed coalition. If they had the military power, they would sure enough take to the streets and remove this entity by force.
Very interesting stuff, very interesting points, Yusuf. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yusuf Mari there, our correspondent on the ground in the Yemeni capital, Sana'a.